Have you ever wondered why something as natural and personal as masturbation can become such a difficult topic to talk about, especially once you're past 60? At this stage of life, our bodies don't move the way they used to. But that doesn't mean our desire or our need to feel, to be touched, to connect, and to release has disappeared. In fact, many men over 60 are quietly rediscovering intimacy, not just with someone else, but with themselves. Masturbation, when understood and done with awareness, isn't shameful. On the contrary, it can help you sleep better, relieve stress, improve blood flow, and even support prostate health. It's part of caring for yourself, in a gentle, very human way. But here's the thing. Many older men are still clinging to old habits, using too much pressure, watching overly intense porn, or treating masturbation like some kind of test of manhood, without realizing that the body at 60 is very different from the one at 30. Today, I want to invite you to take a new look, not to judge, not to feel embarrassed, but to understand and to care for yourself more intentionally. Because when you truly know what's going on inside your body and what it needs right now, you can choose a healthier, freer way to live, physically, emotionally, even spiritually. In just a moment, I'm going to walk you through 8 common mistakes that many men over 60 make when it comes to masturbation. They may seem small, but they can quietly drain your energy, affect your emotions, and slowly wear down your overall health. If you're in this stage of life, or simply care about sexual health after 60, stay with me, and feel free to share this video with someone who might need it. And if you've ever felt uncertain, ashamed, or had questions you've never dared ask, leave a comment below. This is a safe space. No judgment here. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you can keep receiving honest, thoughtful insights made especially for men like you. And just so you know, mistakes number 7 and 8 near the end, those are the ones most people never expect. But they could deeply impact your quality of life. Don't miss them, because knowing early might just be what saves you later. Mistake number 1. Overstimulating the brain with intense pornography. Let me begin this section with a question most people wouldn't dare ask you. Have you ever found yourself feeling less and less when you watch adult content? You might not say it out loud, but deep down you know something's changed. One of my patients, Walter, age 67, came to see me clearly frustrated. He said, "Doc, I still have the desire, but I don't feel much anymore. I'm watching more, stronger stuff, trying different things, but the excitement, it just keeps fading." I looked at him and gently asked, "Do you find yourself watching more, but feeling less?" He went quiet, then nodded, and sighed. You see, that's not uncommon at all. After 60, our brains don't respond the way they used to at 30 or 40. That doesn't mean you're broken. It just means your brain needs to be cared for differently. When you watch porn, especially fast, intense, repetitive content, your brain releases dopamine, the pleasure chemical. At first, it feels exciting, but just like eating too much sugar, the more you have, the less it satisfies. Your brain becomes overstimulated. Dopamine receptors get dulled, and the things that used to bring you pleasure start feeling flat. This is what we call emotional desensitization. Even worse, over time the brain demands more stimulation just to feel a little pleasure. Where once a soft, sensual video was enough, now it takes more, harder, faster, edgier, just to feel something. And then one day, even real closeness with your partner or with your own body doesn't feel like enough anymore. Have you ever felt that? I've met many men in their 60s and 70s silently living with this emotional disconnect. Not because they're weak, but because no one ever told them. Your brain needs protection from overload too. A study published in Frontiers in Psychology showed that high-frequency porn consumption can dull the dopamine system, affecting memory, focus, and mood regulation. This is especially risky for older adults, because as natural hormones decrease, emotional balance becomes more fragile. And I want you to imagine this. You're sitting alone in a familiar room. You play a video like you've done 100 times before, but something feels hollow. The excitement's gone, and what's left is a kind of emptiness you can't explain. You didn't do anything wrong. You just kept using a tool that once helped, but has now quietly crossed the line of what your brain can handle. That doesn't mean you have to give up sexual pleasure. No one's saying you have to live without desire, but I'm inviting you to shift your perspective. You don't need stronger stimulation. You need deeper connection with your imagination, with real emotion, with memories that still hold warmth, with the gentle presence of your own hand, not to force a feeling, but to rediscover it. Sometimes all it takes is a page from an erotic novel, a memory of someone you once loved, or simply touching yourself with care, not pressure. You still deserve to feel. You haven't lost your sensitivity. You just need to reconnect with it, in the way your brain and heart are ready for at this age. And maybe, just maybe, this is where a new kind of pleasure begins. Not rushed, not hidden, not exhausting, but mindful, gentle, and more meaningful than ever. Mistake number 2, using masturbation to escape loneliness instead of creating connection. I want you to pause for just a moment and ask yourself this. The last time I touched my own body, was it out of real desire? Or was it because I felt too alone? I've heard that same question echoed in different ways from many older men, men who live alone after the loss of a spouse, after divorce, or simply because the kids have grown and gone. One man, Harold, 64 years old, said to me during a quiet counseling session, "I honestly don't know anymore. Whether I'm touching myself because I still crave something, or because there's no one left beside me." That sentence made me fall silent for a moment. Not because I was surprised, but because I understood deeply. When we're young, desire often flows naturally, fueled by energy, life, and possibility. But as we age, emotions become more layered, more complex. Loneliness doesn't always show up as a tear. Sometimes it looks like the long silence after dinner, the stillness of a room where no one's waiting, the middle of the night when you wake up and don't know what to do, except what feels familiar. Masturbation, when it comes from a place of connection, curiosity, even self-love, can be deeply valuable. But when it comes from a hollow place, from boredom, sadness, or the quiet ache of an untouched heart, it can turn into something else. Not self-care, not healing, just avoidance. And what happens then? You do it, but you don't feel lighter. You do it, but somehow you feel even more alone afterward. This isn't your fault. It's part of how the human mind protects itself. When sadness isn't heard, it hides. And sometimes, masturbation becomes a kind of excuse, a quick detour around deeper feelings we're not quite ready to face. But avoidance isn't healing, and doing something just to get it over with isn't real connection. Touching your body without truly being present only deepens the emotional distance within. I want you to imagine this. You sit down. You don't do anything. You place your hand gently on your chest just to feel your heartbeat. No rush, no goal, no need to feel pleasure right away. Just to be with yourself for a little while. That, sometimes, is more intimate than any physical act. And if you've been using masturbation as a way to kill time, to fill a quiet space, to distract yourself from the ache, I gently invite you to pause and ask, what does my body truly need right now? A bit of sensation? Or a bit of tenderness? Maybe it's a phone call, a warm cup of tea, a familiar old song, or simply the softness of your own hand. Not to prove anything, not to fix anything, just to offer a little kindness to the body that's carried you all these years. You're not alone because you're older. You've just forgotten, maybe for a while, that you are still worthy of connection, of love, and of being fully alive, even in the quiet moment when your hand meets your chest, and nothing else matters but your presence. Mistake number 3, not adjusting your technique to match the body's new rhythm. Now, I want you to picture this. A man in his 60s sits alone in his bathroom. The light is dim and yellow. A clock ticks in the background. And he's trying hard to recreate the feeling he once had at 30. He moves faster, harder, just like he used to, as if to challenge his body and say, "See, I can still do this. I'm still that man." Have you ever done that? Many of my patients have. They don't always say it out loud, but in the quiet honesty of conversation they admit, "I'm afraid that if I slow down, it means I'm really getting old." And you know what? I understand that fear. There's something deep in the male mind that ties our worth to being strong, enduring, tough. We resist admitting that maybe we need to go gentler, even with ourselves. But let me tell you this, not just as a doctor, but as a man walking through this same season of life. Real strength is not in how fast or hard you go. It's in how deeply you feel. By the time we reach 60, your heart doesn't beat the way it did at 30. Your blood vessels are more delicate, your nervous system more sensitive, and the pelvic floor, that once powerful center, tires faster, strains more easily, and deserves a different kind of care. I once treated a man, 62 years old, who kept getting dizzy after masturbating. He thought it was poor circulation. But after some questions, we uncovered the truth. He was still doing it the way he did at 25. Fast, intense, rushing to climax, like it was a race to the finish line. The problem? His body wasn't racing anymore. His heart couldn't keep up. His pelvic muscles were clenching too hard. And what he thought was staying in shape was actually draining him bit by bit. Your body is not betraying you. It's simply speaking a new language now. And it's saying, I need a different approach, slower, kinder, more aware. Masturbation, at this age, isn't a race. It's not a test. It's a quiet, sacred moment of returning to yourself, with patience and respect for what your body now needs. If you're still approaching it with force, with pressure, with the memory of how it used to be, you might be missing something even better, the maturity of pleasure. Next time, try this instead. Don't ask, can I finish? Ask, am I breathing slowly? Am I feeling my whole body or just chasing a goal? Am I treating myself with the tenderness I would give someone I love? Sometimes all it takes is a small shift, a slower rhythm, a deeper breath, a softer light, or simply not rushing. You may be surprised to find that what you thought was gone is still there, just waiting to be touched the right way. At 60, you don't have to prove that you're still strong. What you need now is to rediscover the peace and joy in simply being here. And yes, when done mindfully, gently, and with awareness, masturbation can be part of that journey. Mistake number 4, ignoring the subtle signals from your prostate. Dear friend, there's a part of your body most men never pay attention to. Not until it starts speaking up. The prostate, I know. Just hearing the word might make you think of scary diagnoses, awkward exams, or quiet worries no one wants to talk about. But let me offer you a different perspective, one that's softer, more honest, and grounded in real care. The prostate, though small and often overlooked, plays a major role in male sexual and urinary health, especially after 60. One of my patients, Charles, age 66, didn't come to see me for sexual concerns. He came because he wasn't sleeping well. He had to get up 3 or 4 times every night to pee. And more recently, he'd started feeling a dull ache down there every time he tried to release. At first, he thought it was just a bad position during masturbation. But after a thorough checkup, we discovered what many older men eventually face: an enlarged prostate, or what we call BPH, benign prostatic hyperplasia. It's not cancer, but it can bring a host of unpleasant symptoms: weaker urine flow, difficulty fully emptying the bladder, pelvic discomfort, interrupted sleep. And here's the real issue: most men don't even know it's happening, or worse, they know and ignore it. They keep masturbating with too much force, or they try to hold back ejaculation to prolong pleasure, or they rush through it, carrying stress in their body, and in doing so, they unknowingly put more strain on an area that's already sensitive. Does that sound familiar? Listen to your body. It whispers before it screams. Is your stream weaker than it used to be? Do you feel like you still need to pee even after you've finished? Do you notice soreness or pressure in your lower abdomen after climax? Do you find it takes longer to fully release than it used to? If any of those ring true, don't brush them off. I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying it because caring for your prostate is part of protecting your long-term sexual wellness. Masturbation in itself doesn't harm the prostate, but doing it the wrong way, too hard, too fast, or without proper relaxation, can irritate or inflame it. And if you keep repeating those habits, something that was once pleasurable can slowly become a source of discomfort, or even shame. So next time you touch yourself, I want you to do it with this thought in mind. This isn't just pleasure. This is care for a delicate part of my body. Breathe slower. Don't force it. Don't hold off ejaculation thinking it'll make you stronger. Let go at the right time and in the right way. And if you ever notice changes in your urine, semen, or how your body feels after release, don't hesitate to talk to your doctor. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's strength. Because I believe this with all my heart. We can't stay young forever, but we can grow older with clarity, confidence, and care if we're willing to truly listen. Mistake number 5, hiding erectile dysfunction or performance anxiety. There's a quiet fear that lives inside many men after 60, one that rarely gets spoken out loud, even in the privacy of their own thoughts. It's this: what if I'm not good enough anymore? I remember one routine checkup where a man named Richard, 68 years old, hesitated for a long time before finally saying, "Doc, I don't get hard the way I used to." Every time I try to masturbate, I start worrying. I keep testing myself and getting more disappointed. Do you think I'm done? I didn't respond with numbers or science in that moment. I simply placed my hand gently on the table and said, "No, you're not done, but your body is changing. And the only real mistake is that you've turned this into a fight with yourself." You see, a lot of older men, once they start noticing changes in erection or stamina, don't talk about it. They hide it. They test themselves quietly, over and over, as if masturbation were some kind of performance exam. And that right there, that shift from connection to self-evaluation, is what makes everything worse. Because when you enter that moment with the fear of failure in your mind, your body reacts accordingly. Your heart races, your muscles tense, your breath shortens, and most of all, your stress hormone, cortisol, spikes. And guess what cortisol does? It shuts down relaxation. It makes arousal harder. It reduces sensitivity. And it kills pleasure. In short, the more you worry, the harder it gets. The more you try to force it, the more likely you'll feel defeated. It becomes a loop. Erection doesn't happen. You worry. You try harder. You fail. You lose confidence. You shut down. You hide. I want you to understand something. From someone who's seen this more times than I can count. Erectile changes aren't a judgment on your manhood. They're your body asking for a different kind of attention. Your body isn't betraying you. It's slowing down. It's asking you to meet it, not with pressure, but with patience. I once told Richard this simple thing. Next time you touch yourself, don't ask, "Can I do it?" Ask instead, "Does this feel good?" A few weeks later, he came back and said, smiling, "For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I had to prove anything, and it felt so much lighter." You see, masturbation isn't a competition. There's no scoreboard, no audience. No one is watching. It's just you and your body learning how to meet each other again. And if things truly become difficult, if dysfunction persists, or if you notice big changes in your desire, semen, or orgasm, see a doctor. Not because something's wrong with you, but because you deserve support, just like anyone else taking care of themselves. Because I deeply believe a man is not defined by how hard he gets, but by how present he is, by how honest he is with himself, and by how gently he can accept who he is, right now. You're not becoming less. You're simply learning a new way to be alive, slower, deeper, and wiser. Mistake number 6, losing emotional connection with your own body during masturbation. Dear friend, I once asked an older patient of mine, Maurice, age 71, what I thought was a simple question. When was the last time you truly felt your body? He paused for a few seconds, then exhaled slowly and said, "I don't remember, doctor. Now I just do it out of habit, to get it over with." That answer struck me, because I know he's not alone in that experience. Many men over 60 continue to masturbate, but they no longer feel connected to themselves in the process. What was once an act of vitality, of desire, of life, has turned into a mechanical routine, void of emotion, absent of presence. Have you ever felt that? You touch your body, but feel nothing meaningful. You go through the motion, not to enjoy, but just to get it done. And afterward, instead of feeling relief, you're left with emptiness. I want you to know something. Masturbation is not just physical. It can be, and should be, a doorway back into connection. Connection to your breath. Connection to the emotions that quietly live beneath the surface. Connection to this body, the one that's carried you for decades. Even if it's slower now, even if it's softer, it's still you. I once spoke with another patient, Leo, a widower who'd lived alone for years. He told me the thing that hurt most wasn't that no one held him at night. It was that he no longer felt connected to his own body. When I look down, he said, it feels like I'm looking at a stranger. That stayed with me. We're never taught how to love our aging bodies. No one tells you that it's still okay to touch yourself, gently, kindly, that you don't need to do anything big. You just need to be there, really be there for yourself. Do you know what happens when you masturbate with connection? Your pace slows, your breath deepens, your mind softens, and pleasure becomes less of a goal and more of a healing presence. Some days you don't need to climax. Some days, just placing your hand on your chest, feeling your heartbeat, sensing your aliveness, that alone is enough. You don't need to rush. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to return to this body you may have forgotten, but never lost. Because here's the truth. If you begin to see masturbation not as a reaction, but as an invitation to connect, you'll find that you're not just doing something familiar. You're coming home to yourself in the gentlest, most profound way, because your body isn't just something to use, it's something to love. Mistake number 7, tying your self-worth to sexual performance. Let me tell you a story. Not long ago, I met a patient named Samuel, 63 years old, solid build, quiet voice, sharp eyes. He used to be a high-level executive in finance, well-dressed, confident. But when the clinic door closed behind us, he lowered his voice, almost like he didn't want even himself to hear. Lately, I can't climax like before. I don't stay hard very long either. Every time I masturbate, I feel like I failed. I looked at him, and I knew his pain wasn't in his body. It was deeper. The fear that he was no longer a real man. Have you ever felt that? When the pleasure isn't what it used to be, when you start measuring your worth, not by your kindness, your wisdom, or the love you offer, but by your sexual ability? We men, we grew up in a world that quietly taught us real men are strong. Strong meant functional, hard, on demand, reliable, not slow, not soft. And we carried that belief like armor, all the way into our 60s and 70s, even as our bodies began whispering something new. I've changed. I'm not the same anymore. But instead of listening, we fight it. We turn masturbation into a test. Every missed orgasm becomes a mark against us. Every short erection becomes a private shame. I asked Samuel, "What are you using to measure your worth?" He hesitated. I continued, "Is orgasm all that you are? What about your patience, your intelligence? The love you give? Does that count for nothing?" He was quiet for a long time. Then he sighed and said, "I've never thought about it like that." Friend, you are not defined by what your body can do in a few seconds. You are the sum of an entire life. Your depth, your compassion, your ability to be present and kind, even to yourself. Orgasm isn't the only destination. Sometimes just being there, truly being there, when you touch yourself, when you breathe, when you let emotions move through you slowly, that is already enough. So if next time you don't climax, Don't feel defeated. Ask yourself, did I feel peace? Was I gentle with my body? Did I treat myself with respect, even if no one else was watching? Because I truly believe a man doesn't need to perform to be valuable. If you're still listening to your body, you're still free. Mistake number 8, not preparing the right environment and mindset for masturbation. There's something quite surprising I've noticed over the years working with older men. When it comes to sexual health, people often focus only on technique and completely overlook the importance of space and state of mind. I once asked a patient of mine, Glenn, 65 years old, when was the last time you created a warm, private, comforting space just for yourself? He chuckled and said, honestly, doctor, I just get it over with in the bathroom, middle of the night, cold, dark, not exactly a 5-star experience. Then he paused, got quiet, and said more seriously, now that you say it, I realize I haven't been very kind to myself. You see, we don't need fancy hotel rooms or candlelight, but we do need a little care, a little intention, a little self-respect for this deeply personal moment we give to ourselves. A room that's too cold, harsh fluorescent lights, noisy distractions, a feeling that someone might walk in. All of that makes the body tense up. And when your body isn't relaxed, real pleasure has a hard time arriving. I've worked with patients who made just a few small changes, replacing bright lights with warm, soft lighting, playing calming music in the background, taking a few deep breaths before starting, choosing a posture that doesn't strain the body. Most importantly, no rushing, no goal, no pressure. And the results? Many came back and told me, I didn't think just changing the environment could make such a difference. For the first time in years, I actually felt like I was touching myself. You may have spent a lifetime caring for others, but today, give something back to yourself. A warm room, a soft light, a mind that doesn't judge. That's not just a setting. That's an invitation for you to return to yourself. If you've stayed with me until this point, I want to say something from the heart. You are brave. Because exploring a topic like this with honesty, curiosity, and vulnerability is not easy, especially in a world that taught us to be silent about it. But here you are, listening, and maybe, somewhere in your heart, something is awakening. 7 mistakes, or 8, or maybe more. None of them define who you are. They're just places you hadn't shined a light on before. And today, you started to. I didn't share all this to make you feel worried. I shared it so you could begin seeing your body and your experience through gentler, wiser eyes, through presence, through self-respect, through freedom. If something in this video stirred a thought in you, leave a comment below. I read them all, and I believe your story matters. If you'd like to keep exploring this path of self-connection, healing, and inner wellness, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And if there's someone you know, a friend, a father, maybe even yourself, who might need to hear this, don't hesitate to share this video. Because longevity isn't just about more years. It's about living truly, in every moment you still have. You are not too old to connect, not too late to heal, and never too far gone to come back to yourself.